morning, one and all present here, and welcome to the Leaders Connect, the Mass Leadership Community LC episode LC016. My name is Prakash Sharma, the founder director of Bija Training and the author of the book, The Mask Leadership. The Mask Leadership Community is built with a specific objective of creating 1,000+ leaders, wherein every week after week on a Wednesday, we invite a top management leader from a corporate company who comes here and shares with us their success stories as well as their life experiences, through which we are able to understand the clear understanding as well as the mindsets of how key top leaders work. That's where we call it as, in short, leaders create more leaders. Currently, all the participants, the guest members as well as the visitors are on mute mode, and we will be giving an opportunity to unmute you and we can interact with our guest later during our episode. And we also like to share that we are currently live on YouTube and this is being recorded. So if you all are ready to start this particular episode with our guest, Mr. Ajay Kalyankar, type in the chat box yes, and we will start today's episode LC016. So let me see how many are coming up in the chat box. Yes, thanks very much, all the members as well as the guests and visitors who are typing in the chat box, and we look forward for more on the chat box as well. So before even I share more details about the professional experience about Mr. Ajay Kalyankar, let me take a quick note about his personal experience or personal life. Let me share about you. Mr. Ajay Kalyankar is married to Miss Asmita, and he has one daughter. Her daughter's name is Neha. She is studying 9th standard, and Mr. Ajay Kalyankar lives in Thane, closer to Mumbai. His hobbies are reading, and he likes reading and interacting with people, and his favorite sport has been athletics as well as hockey. There are much more to know about Mr. Ajay Kalyankar, his life experiences, and how he is really, from the scratch companies also, and then how certain companies he has really helped them is what we are going to listen to, share with you all today now. And for that, we are going to see his professional experience through a video. So here the video goes about Mr. Ajay Kalyankar's professional experience. Excellent. So please do write in the chat box, welcome Mr. Ajay Kalyankar, and he is there here with us to share his life experiences and success stories on this particular topic. Decisions design your destiny. It's all about the decisions what we take, and that's how it designs our own destiny. So Mr. Ajay Kalyankar, I would request you to kindly unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Already
Wow,
done.
great. Thank you very much, Mr. Ajay, sir. How are you, sir? All good?
Yeah, I am fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being in here on the Mask Leadership community. It's such a rich experience which you have got, and we are happy that you're sharing it with our community members as well as the visitors who are here with us today. So Mr. Ajay, we will be going ahead with the first question. And
yeah, sorry.
yes, that's okay. So completely fine. So, as we are aware that a topic is all about decisions, design your destiny. And the first question is which we have, it's always very curious to know, is there a correct decision or a wrong decision? What do you feel, sir?
So I think let me start off with the earlier first question, which was on the intuition or calculation
Yes,
on decisions.
that's right.
So first of all, good evening, everybody. I would like to thank all of you for taking time out to be part of this session and listening to me. And also thanks to Prakash Sharma and his team for inviting me on this show.
Sure.
So Prakash, can you please repeat the question so I can start from there?
Definitely, sir. The question is all about, is there a correct decision or a wrong decision? We all understand that we all take decisions, right? And every human being is taking decision. However, we come to a conclusion saying that that is not a correct decision or this is a right decision. So how do we do? Is that really a correct or a wrong decision, sir, for a given situation?
Okay, so actually, I don't think there's anything known as a right decision or a wrong decision, which you can say in black and white.
True.
Because what is right today may be considered wrong after a couple of years. So I think the more appropriate way of looking at this would be that a decision is correct based on the present circumstances and it's correct at a certain point in time,
True.
because circumstances do keep changing, because of which the decision might go wrong if you take the same decision a couple of years down the line.
True.
But what is very important is to analyze the results of a decision and then keep taking corrective steps thereafter.
Mm.
Let's say you make a mistake when you take a decision. I mean,
Mhm.
it's okay. What's important is to analyze where you went wrong, correct yourself, and do a course correction so that the next
Mm.
time you do the job or get the job done,
Mhm.
you will give a better output than what you did the first time round. And when you do, even if you take a right decision, which might
Mhm.
appear to be right today, what's important is to keep analyzing the output,
Mm.
because analyzing this output helps you to keep refining and getting better results, so that you keep getting better and better output. So even if the circumstances around you keep changing, the
Yeah.
environment around you keeps changing, by
True.
going on analyzing the output and improving on what you're doing by finding maybe small improvements, the output keeps on improving. And this is where I think today, if you see, data analysis is one of the most important fields that
Yes.
plays a large role in any department or function within an organization. It's
True.
only because of this. And if you look at large corporates which have survived for, let's say, more than 200 years,
Mhm.
I mean,
Okay.
how do they do it? They keep analyzing continuously as to what they are doing and keep improving on it, which then enables to keep moving forward, so that the organization survives. And you, as a manager, it's your responsibility to ensure that you take your organization forward, because you're also responsible not only for yourself, you're also responsible for the lives of people who work with you.
Excellent.
The other thing is, okay, so that doesn't mean that somebody can frequently go on making careless mistakes,
Thanks.
because that actually means that the person is not fit for the role. So
Mm.
there are two things you can do: either move the person into another role where you find the person's skill sets to be worthy using, or you have to improve the skill sets of that person so that the output of the person keeps improving. And
Mm.
that's the best way forward.
Wonderful.
So I
Excellent,
again
sir.
go back to
Mhm.
my starting point, which is there is no wrong or right decision in black and white.
Rightly told. So that means there's no right or wrong decisions for a given situation, and there's nothing right or wrong in a black and white. We cannot go. That means for a given situation, we need to choose an appropriate decision by analyzing the information what we have, and that's where I'm able to clearly go more in detail. So analyzing is what you're sharing. Excellent point you have
Yeah.
told, Mr. Ajay Kalyankar. So analyzing for the past as future. Wonderful. So let me share with, now that you're saying that analyzing plays a very important role. And in reality, if you could see, definitely there are companies where people are having data. All the corporate companies, they have data, they are taking data. However, there are few managers who are taking ego-based decisions, which is very well, they are aware about it. They're aware that they are getting into ego-based decisions, and what needs to be taken is more analytical with a data-based decisions. However, they refrain doing so. If it will be really helpful if you could just share with us, to our community members, how can a person help out in terms of overcoming to take such ego-based decisions?
Yeah. See, so ego, I think, has killed not only careers, it has also killed personal relationships.
True.
So, it's one of the most destructive aspects of man's nature or his behavior. So, when as a manager, one lets the ego come in the way of taking decisions time and again,
Mm.
where the attitude of the person is that only he or she is right and right all the time. Now, if this is how a supervisor behaves, what happens is sooner or later, the cooperation from rest of the team slowly ceases.
Ceases down.
So
True.
even if something is going wrong, no one will bother to volunteer and inform such a supervisor or the organization that things are going haywire. And then very soon you'll find that in these cases disaster strikes and strikes real hard, because the person always keeps thinking that only he or she is right, doesn't take any proper inputs, and sticks to the wrong decision. And the worst part is, after making a wrong decision, will keep sticking to it to
Picking up.
prove how he or she is right, irrespective
True.
of that things are just falling apart everywhere.
True.
So the rest of the team actually, gets thrilled seeing that things are falling apart, and nobody will try to support or cover up. And given the complex and fast-paced world that we live in, honestly, I don't believe that there is any one person who can know each and everything about every job in an organization.
True.
And all jobs in an organization are interlinked in some way or the other. And that's why, because they're interlinked, they exist in that organization.
Perfect.
So and that's why you have experts on whom you rely. Now, if a person doesn't take inputs of the experts or the subject matter experts or his team members, you end up not taking rational decisions. Now, rational decisions are ones which are based on intelligence and logic with inputs from the right quarters. And this is where you will ensure that the decisions that you take end up being beneficial to yourself as a manager, because that proves your capability. It also gets the buy-in of the team. And
True.
this is finally is what the organization is looking for, because there's enormous benefit to the organization. And this actually boils down to managing people, which according to me, managing people is the most difficult job in an organization. See, as an individual, there is only that much that a person can do. And as one goes higher and higher in the hierarchy, the job responsibilities grow, and so does the team size.
Yes.
Now, when you deal with human beings, there is no such thing as one size fits all.
Yeah.
So when you deal with human beings, you have to be sensitive. And I think empathy plays a big role here. And if you combine this and the basically, taking suggestions from people, getting them involved, keep your ego aside, because maybe somebody 3-4 levels junior to me on a subject might know much more than me. As a manager, I will end up taking the right decision. That's one aspect. The second aspect is, maybe I've taken a decision and I can see that, somebody else comes out with a decision where I need to reverse something. The person has to be sensible and logical enough to understand that the decision that was made was not the right decision. And in the interest of the organization and the people, it's best that you reverse the decision rather than sticking to your ego to prove, that I'm the greatest. I think it never helps.
True, true. Wonderfully shared. So that means ego-based decision really never helps and it only puts us down. So in this
Yes.
context, as you're sharing, saying that ego-based decision has to be stopped, considering on the other side, since you spoke about a word called the rational decision, one of the rational decision is getting into taking of more of a collaborative decisions, correct? So if we could
Yes.
really get into collaborative decision, and what steps do you think if you have to get into a collaborative decision, and does really collaborative decision gain trust? If so, how? The decisions what we take, does it really gain trust of others?
See, I think given the complex way the world operates today, it does make a lot of sense to take collaborative decisions. Simply because what I just mentioned earlier is one person cannot know everything about
Yeah, correct.
every department that's happening, what happens in a company. So basis that, what happens is ultimately you have to, make use of the knowledge that is there within the company.
Mm.
The important aspect when you take such decisions, you need to understand is there are timelines against which you work. So it doesn't mean that you just go on forever. So you set timelines
Mm.
and operate within those timelines. So one example I can give you is basically when we were at Fullerton,
Mm.
the investor wanted to put up 30 branches a month. Now in those days, people
Mm.
put up maybe 30 branches a year. I'm talking of the year 2006.
Okay.
And I came from a background of Citibank where we put up 2 or 3 branches in a year at best.
Mm.
So now the first thing to do was, when they wanted 30 branches a year, the first thing to do was leave my old learning behind, which means you would have to leave your ego behind that, oh, I know everything.
True.
Because you need to start with a clean slate.
Yes.
So then, I got all my senior guys together. We first brainstormed what to do. Then we actually got all the contractors involved and the brokers, because see, we were putting up branches in A, B, C, D locations. Now the
Mm.
big facility management companies did not operate in these areas, and they were the
Mhm.
ones I knew at Citibank. So we had
Mm.
to accept it and go down, actually invite the good contractors that we had, the good brokers that we had,
Super.
and the good suppliers of ready-made equipment, and did a brainstorming with them because they knew the business much better than any of us within the organization. Now,
Super.
some of these guys were so down to earth, I can tell you that they could not even speak in English.
Mm.
But I don't think we were there on an English speaking session. We were there to see what knowledge they have, how
Mm.
to utilize that knowledge, and then put that into a strategy which would make us successful. So once we got all these inputs, we as a team analyzed what all had to be done. And once we fine tune a model, we could actually deliver 30 branches a month. And we were so successful that after a couple of months, the promoter turned around and says, we want 60 branches a month now.
Wow.
Now, since we had the formula, we started putting up 60 branches a month. And actually, we put up 84 branches in the month of December 2007, which was a record. So
Excellent.
basically, it helps a lot to make decisions where you get inputs from anybody who can add value to your decision making.
Mhm.
Because end of the day, I don't think it's important that the decision has to be mine or A or B or C. I
Yes.
think what is important is we need to take the right decision, because finally at the end of the day, the position that I was occupying, I would get the credit for taking right decisions and delivering right results.
Perfect.
So that's why
Mm.
it's very important that yes, make collaborative decisions, take inputs from the right people.
Mm.
Doesn't matter what level they are, doesn't matter who they are, as long as they give you proper inputs. And then you put together your strategy with these inputs so that you cannot go wrong, or chances of going wrong are less.
Perfect. Perfect. Wonderfully shared the information about how collaborative decision really helps. In fact, and when we start taking this collaborative decision is where I'm sure the trust you have won by your suppliers in the Fullerton, your experience, and they have started giving us more. And when the trust from the management is gained, excellent. Wonderful. So, Ajay, so in other words, collaborative decision will definitely help us in improving the trust level of others on us.
Yes.
And as a leader, definitely the trust is a very important point where we need. And only when we are taking an appropriate decisions, we are able to gain the trust of others on us. Wonderfully
Yeah.
explained, Mr. Ajay, on that. So great. So Mr. Ajay, I would like to take a small 2 minutes time now, and we are going to ask a quiz question to all the members as well as the visitors who are here in the room today on the topic what you have just spoken now, and then we'll again come back to you. And there are open questions from the members as well as the visitors from this room who will also like to ask you. So let's just give me 2 minutes time so now. All right. So members, visitors, and the guests. So great that we all have been hearing for 20 minutes now from Mr. Ajay Kalyankar about the how decisions are designing your destiny. And when as we're listening to this, we're getting a lot of insights. So, but let me quickly ask you a question as a quiz. So before that, let me share with you the last week's quiz winner. Last week's quiz winner is Mr. Nagaraj, who is able to see on the screen. He's from Karya Financial Services. So excellent, Nagaraj. So what has Nagaraj done is he has answered the question correctly. And since he's answered the question correctly, which was asked, he had received the Mask Leadership Online 360-degree feedback assessment as complimentary. And great, congratulations once again, Nagaraja Sirgeri. Good one. So let's see this week now who is going to be the lucky winner to get the Mask Leadership Online 360-degree feedback assessment. So fastest fingers first. So your role is to kindly type in the chat box the right answer. All right. So Mr. Ajay Kalyankar had spoken a particular point about rational decision making, and he told 2 words what rational decision making means. What are the 2 words which he used to explain rational decision making? So let me kindly type that in the chat box, and I am seeing your chat box. Let me see the right answers, and Mr. Pankaj from our team is also going to help us out in giving the right answer. Yes. So Pankaj, if you have received an answer, so please do share as who has received, and it will be helpful for me to share it with the team here.
We got two response. We have got 2 responses from Mr. Shankar Lal, who has talked about logic and data, and Mr. Mahendra has talked about data analysis and data.
That's one point is correct, which is logic is rightly told, but he told one more point. Data was the first point which he told about the decisions. Definitely yes, but nevertheless, for the who is the first person, Pankaj?
Mr. Shankar Lal.
Mr. Shankar Lal. Congratulations, Shankar Lal, at least sharing the one correct answer. And let me share the answer also to you. Logic, as rightly told, logic as well as, in fact, it's intelligence and logic is what Mr. Ajay Kalyankar told. Wonderfully shared. So thanks very much, Mr. Shankar Lal. If we can request you to kindly unmute yourself and turn on your video, it will be really helpful. So, Mr. Shankar Lal, is the name correctly pronounced, Pankaj?
Yes, Mr. Shankar Lal.
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Shankar Lal, we are able to hear you.
Yeah,
Congratulations, Mr. Shankar Lal, for
thank you so much.
receiving
Thank you
the
so much.
Mask Leadership. Yes, sir. Mask Leadership Online 360-degree assessment feedback, which will definitely help you. For the visitors here as well as the members, we are aware the 360-degree feedback assessment is nothing but, as the leader, when I take a 360-degree feedback assessment from my superiors, subordinates, colleagues, and customers about my improvement areas with respective to the leadership competencies. And that is what you have won, Mr. Shankar Lal.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. So Shankar Lal, since you have won this particular tool and you have answered it right, you get an opportunity to ask a question to Mr. Ajay Kalyankar. So feel free to ask a question if you have any.
Superb. Yeah, I got 2 questions to ask.
Please.
Yeah, one is that we discussed about the decision making, and you used a specific word called ego-based decisions. I'm not very sure about the particular terminology. Maybe I not got this particular terminology so far. I always thought that there's something called logic-based decisions.
Yes.
And the second one is basically instinct-based decisions.
True.
As a leader, you take some decisions based on some instinct or whatever, some gut feel, whatever you have. and then you justify that because like you are in a position of ego. You are in leadership position, you are in a managerial position, and then you like chase people away saying that like what I said was right. So are you mentioning that aspect of as ego-based decision?
Okay.
Ego comes to defend your decisions. You don't take decisions based upon the ego. Am I right?
Rightly told. Mr. Ajay Kalyankar, you would like to answer this question, sir?
You'll have to repeat the question.
Yes, sir. See, like we discussed now, we use a word called like ego-based decisions.
Correct.
Right. See, okay, I know that like we take decisions like as far as my understanding goes, there are two ways you take decisions.
True.
One is a pure logic-based decision.
Yes.
The second one is your instinct or gut feel, or your like gut-based decisions, a gut feel, something like that.
True.
Based upon whatever you take a decision, maybe instinct-based decision, and then you justify that with your ego, saying that like what I said is wrong, whatever I decide is final. I'm right, sir. That's what you're referring to as ego-based decision. Have I got that right?
No. Okay, no, when I'm saying ego-based decision, what happens as you go higher and higher in an organization, power can get to your head.
Yes.
And once power gets to your head, you think that you're always right. And maybe somebody 3-4 levels below you cannot be right.
Okay.
So an ego-based decision is where power gets to your head and you refuse to listen to others and refuse to listen to rational.
Okay.
That is where your ego blocks you from actually taking a decision which could harm you, and it will also definitely harm the organization and people around you.
Okay, fine. Got that. Yeah, thanks.
Excellent. Wonderfully answered, Mr. Ajay. I'm sure Mr. Shankar would have got the right answer and more appropriate answer from Mr. Ajay.
Yeah,
wonderfully
thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you.
So are there, thanks very much. So are there other members as well as the visitors in the room who are coming here for the first time today who would like to ask questions to our guest, Mr. Ajay Kalyankar, about the topic decisions? So definitely this is the right time and we can ask him now. So Pankaj, please do help me if people have typed on the chat box, if any question as well. And in the meantime, I will also ask the next question, Mr. Ajay. In the meantime, are other members as well as visitors?
No questions are there in the chat box, Prakash.
Super cool. So thanks very much, Pankaj, for sharing that update. And I believe Mr. David is there, who's raising the hand. He would like to ask a question. So yes, Mr. David Selvaraj, we will unmute you shortly here. And members and visitors, if you feel like turning on your camera, please do turn on your camera, where we'll have a much more interactive session. It will be helpful for us in seeing you much better. So yes, David Selvaraj, over to you, sir.
Sir, I was reporting to Ajay Kalyankar for more than 12 years in Citibank and in Fullerton. I've never seen him so serious, so I just want him to smile. I've never seen him so serious. I just want him to smile and say, Ajay, please smile, because
thank you.
I want to see the Ajay that I know him. He's my boss for 12 years, Ajay. That's all, nothing else, sir.
Well, David, the reason for the seriousness is basically we had some hiccup, when we were starting, where I was not getting connected.
True. Definitely. So
and also the the output of the mic is a little low, or the speaker, sorry, is a little low. So I have to little bit strain myself. See, I'm not getting any younger. So I need to pay a little more attention to what's being said.
Rightly told, Mr. Ajay. So thanks very much, David. David, I would like to also thank you at this moment, since you've already spoken. For the members and visitors, let me share with you, Mr. David Selvaraj is the person who had really shared the connect of Mr. Ajay Kalyankar and is introduced to us for this particular platform. Thank you, Mr. David Selvaraj, for the excellent connect which has been done. Great. And let's go ahead and proceed with the next question, Mr. Ajay. Mr. Ajay, the next question comes here. It's more about with respective to, as in fact, even one of our visitor also shared with us about intuitive decisions, right? So that was in fact my next question, and he has actually asked us a certain similar. So there are two aspects again. One is called intuitive decision. So there are two aspects as a particular person as you're growing the leadership cycle. When a person is growing up the leadership cycle, people do say, listen to your instinct. All right. So that's more of an intuitive decision. So listen to your instinct and go ahead. And the other side is where it gives us more an analysis that you need to analyze the data and then only go ahead. So as a person is growing higher the ladder, which decision do we really take? Is it the instinct, more the intuitive side, or is it really the rational, which has to be taken the analysis based? So which one do you think will be more appropriate?
See, basically, if you ask me, taking a decision, my preference is always I would go by a risk analyzed decision, which is taking a calculated risk.
Super.
So I would not take decision based on intuition because it's, to me, according to me, it's more like gambling, where you try your luck, and maybe I'm lucky once, I'm lucky twice, but honestly, I can't push my luck, especially when there are a lot of responsibilities sitting on your shoulders. Because as you go higher and higher, what happens is ultimately not only are you responsible for yourself, your career, and your family, you're also responsible for the other employees in the company and their families.
True.
So gambling with their lives, their careers, I don't think is something as you go senior you should be doing. So I would take decisions which are basically based on calculated risk.
Super.
Now, see, as the world is getting more and more complex, and you will not know everything when you take a decision. If I know everything, then the decision has made itself. So when I need to take a decision or anybody needs to take a decision, there will be unknowns.
True.
Now, the more you analyze and the more data you have in front of you, the more correct can be your decision. However, you can't go on analyzing forever. Somewhere you have to take a decision at a certain point in time. So once you're giving yourself that much of time, I think you have to take a call.
Yes.
And that's where I would prefer going in for calculated, a decision based on calculated risk.
Wonderful.
So in most cases, if you see today, and again, this comes back to the point why is data analysis getting so important in life? It's only because it helps you to cut down on the unknowns. And when the unknowns are not are sort of fewer in number, chances of going wrong reduce. Like, for example, today I work for a finance company and we give loans to people. Now, what comes to me is basically the cases which are exceptions or deviations. So we need to take a call whether you want to make a loan to a customer or not make a loan to a customer. Now, yes, people would have already analyzed all the various aspects about, the person's credit score, the cash flows, then there might be the repayment track record. There's also why the person wants a loan. There are various parameters will be there. And let's say he's deviating on the credit score. The credit score today is low. Now the call is whether you would make a loan to this person, yes or no. So one is definitely a face-to-face meeting always helps because there's a lot you can learn from body language of a person.
Perfect.
And the second is when you look at the credit score and you cross-question the guy as to why it's low, why some loan default happened or why some delays happened. I think then if the person is giving you, proper explanations along with the fact that he's had an excellent track record before, then you take a call that, okay, I'll go ahead with this guy. Now, the difference would be that, okay, so now that's a calculated risk I'm taking. Now, to minimize that risk further, what would I do if the guy wants, let's say, 1 crore of rupees? I will tell him, okay, I give you 50 lakhs now. For 6 months, you pay me without any problem or a year, and then I'll give you the balance. Because now you establish a track record with me, and now I can sort of have faith in you and, give you more. Now, to let go that customer is also like, letting go of income and business. And basically, the world of finance is nothing but the ability to take risk. Because in today's world, when you give money even to maybe your own brother or sister, there's no guarantee the money will come back. The moment you give it, you're taking a risk.
Yes.
So similarly, if you don't take that risk, we might as well not do business. We might as well shut down. So there is where you take risk, you take calculated risk, and then you move on. Now, sometimes these decisions, yes, maybe after 4, 5, 6 years, the customer's business could go for a toss. Maybe there are problems. So it could go wrong and you realize it after those 4, 5 years have passed. But I think that's part of the game. But then if you have already, and so, okay, that also doesn't mean that where everything was hunky-dory and we have given a loan, every loan will be paid back. So this is a calculated risk that you will take. And then you move on in life, but then the chances of going wrong are much lesser than just blindly doing anything. So if you ask me, I would definitely not take decision based on intuition because the stakes are too high. I would rather take decisions which are based on calculated risks. So whether it's my professional life or personal life, I have always followed this.
Great. Wonderfully, it's been to listen to that, saying that as for the constant growth of a leader, it's very necessary that we are taking a calculated risk where we analyze the information, and then at a particular time we need to take a decision. There we actually can take, we can listen to us, and then we need to take up an appropriate decision after analysis. So you wonderfully told, and that is what is going to lead a person to a leader as a constant growth. Great, Mr. Ajay, for sharing this particular wonderful insights here. Right. So, Mr. Pankaj, is there any other questions from our members as well as visitors here, or shall we go ahead for summarizing?
No, you can continue.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Pankaj, for sharing that information as well. Great. So, Mr. Ajay, it has been a really excellent experience throughout more than 40 minutes now, which we have discussed about the decisions. So I'd like to take 2 minutes time for me to summarize and how it has been and how it is helping, so that the members as well as visitors can go back and start demonstrating and deploying the key live experiences of Mr. Ajay here. So just 2 minutes, I'll be back. So members as well as the visitors. So here's the time where we're going to summarize the complete aspect and importance of what all we have understood from decisions design your destiny, and very relevant experiences Mr. Ajay has shared. And if we are able to take such calculative decisions as well, we'll be able to design our own destiny. So let me quickly explain you about this mask leadership model. The mask leadership model is very simple, basic aspects of 5 elements of leadership, where we are talking about the productive habits, and we also have about the unproductive habits. Maybe Pankaj, kindly click on the slides, it will be helpful. Unproductive habits we have, and we have skills, we have positive feeling and negative feelings. And today's topic is all about the skills, which is the decision making is a skill, and how the skills are very important. And it should not be, now if you could just take an example, productive habit is a particular point about, we're talking about collaborative decision. That's a productive habit which has been connected to skills. And on the other side, if you say unproductive habit is ego based, and if I tend to start taking ego based decision, still my skills are only going to be affected. So the 5 basic elements of leadership which every leader needs to be knowing. For more information about this, please do visit our website, www.themaskleadership.com, and you'll be getting more information about it on the same. So let me quickly summarize the points as in skills, which is the decision-making skills, what we have understood. So first we have understood that there is no right or a wrong decision, first of all, and which is nothing black and white, which is most and more appropriate decision, and that's what we need to be taken. And in the series, as we spoke, we also understood saying that ego-based decisions is not going to give us a constant growth, and we stop our growth. And think members as well as visitors, if you are taking any ego-based decisions in your company, and if it's coming across, hold on, that is actually affecting. So instead of taking an ego-based decision, start accepting people. Nevertheless, the inputs are being shared by our subordinates. Let's start accepting it, and I'm sure take an appropriate decision. And the third, we also moved more deeper into how collaborative decisions are taking, and how collaborative decisions are really gaining trust of other people on us. Because every decision we take, it is all about the trust factor which we gain from the other people on us. And that's when excellent examples, in fact, Mr. Ajay has shared with us in Fullerton when he was working, and his experience in Fullerton, in fact. And from there, we moved into understanding the difference between intuitive decisions as well as calculated decisions. And where Mr. Ajay says, if we have to be as a leader for a constant growth, we need to get more deeper into calculative risk and calculative decisions. We may have a thought process that I have in years of experience, I have 30 years of experience or 35 years of experience. And with my experience, I know, and then we start jumping into taking intuitive decision, hold on to it, and then analyze the fact, and that will really help us in taking the appropriate decision. So wonderful, Mr. Ajay shared all these points, and we have got us all these learnings. I'm really happy about sharing this. So let me share with you all the visitors who are here in today. For all the visitors, what we do, the Mask Leadership community here, for the first time who all been here for this Mask Leadership community, let me explain what we do. What we do is every Wednesday and every Wednesday after Wednesday, we invite a top management leader from a corporate company who share with us their success stories and live experiences on key leadership competencies. And if you wish to be having a constant growth in your leadership career, then this is the right platform with a structured learning where it will be giving you a constant growth. And the more and more we are listening to the top management professionals from the corporate company is where we'll fine tune our mindset. And that's when we also start growing much faster. And if you wish to join us, our community, please feel free. My mobile number is on the chat box. We should be seeing it now. Kindly do ping me on WhatsApp, or we'll be adding you to our Telegram community, which we have, so that you will also be a part of our group, and you will also start looking forward for a constant growth in your leadership career. And one more important information, and I would like to thank, and as I told Mr. David Silveraj for sharing such an excellent reference of Mr. Ajay Kalyankar. Thank you very much, Mr. David Silveraj here, for being in this. Right? And members, please do share with us your top management leader from a corporate company. If you could know, please do share, and that will really help us in inviting them. So let's understand our next week's guest whom we have. The next week's guest who is going to address us is Mr. Pandian Palaniappan, who is the General Manager, National Sales Training Head from Hyundai Motor Private Limited. And he is going to be with us on the topic called Crucial Conversations. As a leader for a constant growth, it's very, very necessary that how we converse with people and how crucial conversations has to be managed is what he is going to share with us, his life experiences. So please do invite, and I'm sure the link is also shared on the chat box. If you feel free to quickly click on it, and if you want to log in and register now, please go ahead, and we'll also keep sending it to you. So with all this, and is where now we are going to come with the last question, in fact, with Mr. Ajay. Mr. Ajay, we have one last question for you, sir, before we leave.
Yeah.
So we have seen all our members now, and visitors are here in the platform here. So what is that one final a piece of advice, or what is a message, I would say, not even advice, a message you would like to give to our community members and visitors here who are really the working professionals and they are looking forward for a constant growth? So what's that message you want to give them?
Yeah, so what I think I would like to tell people is whenever you run into any problems, I think just look around at yourself, at nature, and believe me, you will get a solution to your problem. Because nature is something that exists, it's reality, and it's all around us. So, for example, if you take, the big dinosaur, it did not adapt and is no longer seen anywhere. Whereas the small ant or the cockroach, they have adapted to various, climatic conditions. So you find them at minus 50 degrees, you find them at plus 50 degrees, and they have been around for millions of years. So looking at them, the ones who adapt are the ones who will survive. The ones who refuse to adapt are the ones who will become extinct, which basically means you could lose your job, you could lose your careers could come to an end. So especially now that the COVID pandemic has hit us, I think the world has changed. So expecting it to be the same before and after, it's not going to be that way, whether it's your personal life or it's your professional life. So accept that there will be change, adapt to the changes, so that you will continue doing well in both your personal as well as your professional lives. The other thing what the virus I think has proved to all of us is that everybody is equal. Rich or poor, old or young, male or female, it didn't make any difference. Nobody is immune to it. And I think it also burst a lot of false egos.
Yeah.
So I think my advice would be learn to adapt rather than keep complaining about things. Adapt and you will survive.
Wonderful. Excellently shared the message which talks about more adaptability. The more and more you are able to adapt yourself, the more and more flexible you are, and that's when you will be able to grow. Great, Mr. Ajay Kalyankar sir. Thanks very much for sharing and spending your time, valuable time here, and sharing your key life points, which has really helped our members as well as our visitors who are in here today. So great, and we would like to share you a thank you video finally. And before we share the thank you video, members, please we do remember to share your key learning areas from that particular session, what you had today from Mr. Ajay on the Telegram group, which will help our members. Remember, the more and more we type in or write the learnings, what we received is when we start inculcating a habit of demonstration. So let's start writing it on the Telegram group, and I'm sure this will really take us great ahead. So with all this, I thank all the members here present here today, the visitors who have been here, and the guests. It's been an excellent pleasure being here, sir. So the thank you video is here up next for all of us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Just so we can just have a look at Great. So thank you one and all being here present for us. Thank you very much. And thank you once again, Mr. Ajay Kalyankar, sir. It's been really great seeing you here.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot.
Thank you. Thank you all the members, all the guests, as well as the visitors. Thank you, sir.